Hello and welcome to YouTube's most underproduced, poorly produced Amiga channel, Hold and Modify. This is Q, and today I am finally releasing a hopefully not too long video where we are going to finally learn how to compile an animation using Art Department Professional, one of the more popular programs. Now, one of the first questions that may come up, and I apologize for the color bars. That happens as the capture device switches between modes. Sometimes it takes longer than normal. So you may ask yourself, well, Q, in Lightwave, and I'm sure other 3D programs, you have the ability to save animation right here. So as you render, you can save the animation. Now, the problem when you got, here you've even got, 6-bit ham, 8-bit ham. The problem with doing this, and why I suggest you never do this, you're compiling the animation on the fly. You're not saving out any frames. And what'll happen is if Lightwave crashes or your Amiga locks up or gosh knows what happens, you have a corrupt ANIM file. And now you're boned. You've got this partially truncated ANIM file. There's nothing you can do with it. There are some utilities out there that will make efforts to recover those files, but they're spotty at best. You just lose a lot of control if you do save anim. Yes, it's convenient because now you have an animation that's ready to play as soon as Lightwave is done. But I always suggest just save your RGB images like I've shown you in my previous Lightwave videos. I'll try to remember to add my Lightwave playlist to the end of this video too. But I always like to save out 24-bit IFFs, not RAWs, just IFFs, keep it Amiga as friendly as possible. And then, you can save out other formats like TGA and JPEG because we're going to be using Art Department Professional, which reads a lot of these files. So, but I like to save out the IFFs. I like to do a padding, usually a 4-digit. In Amiga lands, you could do 3-digit padding. In fact, a lot of Amiga graphic software defaults to looking for 3-digit padding. So if you want to keep it easy, you could do name 000.xxx for the padding. And then you save your RGB images. And again, I've shown this before in other videos, and you'd go through and give it a name, like, test. And I like to always insert this underscore. So when you do that, you get right here a preview of what you're going to get when it writes the file out. It's going to write out test underscore 001.iff, which mimics what's up here. So when you see it says name, what they're talking about, that's the name you're going to give it. We gave it test. Then I add the underscore so that there's no digit smushing against the letters. I like to have that space in there without having a space to make sure sequential animations are read by other software packages correctly. So that's why I always prefer it, because when you save RGB images, now you can do whatever you want. You can save it as a 32 color anim file, a 16 color anim file, a ham color, a DCTV anim. There's all kinds of options when you have the raw frames. Plus you can use those frames and do other things to them in Art Department Professional or Image Effects. You can process and add different filters and all kinds of goodies that normally you're just not going to want to do to an anim file, or you might not be able to do to an anim file because it's already a compressed format. So always work with frames when making animations. So let's get out of Lightwave. I've already rendered some frames. We'll wait for good old to come back there. And so the first thing you need to do is launch Add Pro. It needs to be running, because how Fred works is it talks to Add Pro through AREX. So you need to have RexMast running, which in Amiga OS 3.2 I believe automatically starts. But you just need to have RexMast running if you're running Workbench 2.0 or higher. Where is that at? RexMast. It's not a commodity, is it? I don't remember. I know I always kept it in my command folder. I don't know where they keep it. There it is, RexMast system. So yeah, if you don't have it running, you can just double click it right now and it'll launch and run. But yeah, I usually add it to my startup path, or put a copy of it in the command folder and just have it execute that way. So yes, Add Pro and Fred talk to each other through AREX. So you want to launch Add Pro like we've done. You don't need to do anything else. Then you want to launch Fred. Make sure I don't have Fred already running. I already have Fred running. Okay. So here we go. Now we'll let this catch up and sync. So what we're going to do next is, you've got Fred, right click, project, new. It's going to open up the sequencer. You're like, okay, there's a cool sequencer. And the next thing you do is you want to go edit, insert, and you can choose images, range, or directory. Normally you could just choose directory. You could go to directory, find wherever you save those frames at, and just say, that's the directory I want. When you do that, though, you got to make sure that only those sequential files that I showed you earlier are going to be in there. You only want to see the underscore 1, underscore 001, underscore 002, only those files, because it'll look at everything that's in that directory, and if you have something that's out of sequence or it's different from the other file name, it could freak out. So what I do is just kind of like an old personal safety or checkpoint for myself, is I'll go edit, insert, images. And now it shows you everything in this directory. And look, we'll see, look, we've already got some weird file in here that doesn't match the other ones. So that's good that I did that, because now I know not to select that. And then what you do is just left click, hold the mouse button down, and you can just drag down, highlight, select all these files. Now, of course, you can also just click the first one and then shift click the last one. So once you've done that, that's, 90 frames. So I've got 90 frames. Click OK, and Fred will start bringing these in. Now, the first time you do this, you are not going to see thumbnails like you're seeing here. It's going to be black, a bunch of black squares. And I'll show you why in a second. All Fred does when you first load this in is it'll just load the images into the sequencer, and it'll show you a bunch of black squares. And that's because these are 24-bit files. And your Amiga, Fred doesn't know what to do with those. Your Amiga, you can't display them, so it needs to be, they would need to be either like AGA files or ham files or 32 color, 16 color, some kind of native Amiga format to actually show up as thumbs. But even then, I don't know if you're going to get thumbs automatically, because I think you have to actually generate these. So when you load this in, like I said, you're going to have a bunch of black frames, not an image. Go up here, go to select all. It'll select everything here, and then go up to animation, make stamp. Okay, this will then go through one by one and create a thumbnail from your rendered image, which is really handy, because then as you scroll here, you can kind of get like a little preview animation. Now, I've already done this, and it remembered it. It's because it saves those thumbnails in the directory, so it's automatically loading those thumbnails. Now, if I had changed the name of these frames to something else like B5 example 2 underscore 001, then the thumbnails would break because it wouldn't have anything to associate with. But because I haven't modified those source frames, the thumbnails I did before in testing this are showing up here for us. And then, of course, you can go up now and go to animation, playback, continuous, and you get this nice, tiny little thumbnail-sized real-time playback of your animation, which is kind of handy because you can see right away, if you've screwed up or if it's what you want. So when you're done, you can close that. So now what do you do? Everything is still selected, you can tell, because everything's got the turquoise color on it. Now you've got to go to scripts, process. Now this is your, basically your I/O to Add Pro. And you can create lists, save lists. The one thing you do need to change is invoke scripts, because we're working with frames. Set it to once per frame, and then leave load image at every frame. So what we have to do here is you have to think about, now it's like you're using Art Department Professional. I've got 24-bit image files. I need to get them into a format that the Amiga can show as an animation file and save as an animation file. So the first thing you need to do is click Add, and then we need to go, and it's going to default to this directory, which is basically a mirror of Art Department Professional's toy box, or toolbox if you want to call it. So I'm going to do renderers, and we're going to say render as ham. So that's the first thing I want to do. So now what's going to happen, it's going to load up the first frame, and it's going to render it as ham. And then I'll go to the next frame and then render it as ham. Next frame, render as ham. But where's the save animation part come in? Well, we click Add again, and it's important that these are in order. Savers, save as anim, click OK. So now it's going to load it up and go render as ham, and add to an animation file that you've specified. And that's it. This is the simplest script you can do. And what it's going to do, it's all automated, and I'll show you in a second. So we're going to click process. Now a bunch of stuff's going to happen, and the stupid color bars are going to come up. So I'm going to wait here. Okay, so now we're back, and what's happened is it's invoked add pros operators, and it's asking you, okay, well, what do you want this to be? Because you said render as ham, right? So it's basically asking you the basics for rendering as ham. Well, low res, yes, because this is a standard Amiga. Accept. Do you want overscan or not overscan? Nope, just a standard render. Default NTSC or PAL, I'll do default. I mean, it was rendered as a PAL, but I think I rendered it as square pixels, 320 by 240, so it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to say accept. Interlace, nope, it wasn't interlaced. Vertical overscan, nope. Ham 8 or ham? Well, ham, that's an Amiga 3000. Dithering, Floyd is the best, I find. It looks the best, it does the best with ham mode and even like 16 color mode Amiga. And then it's going to ask you, this is where it gets a little tricky. Gotta wait for the color bars to catch up. It says select ANIM file. You're like, select? But I'm not selecting. No, you're not selecting. What that should say is save ANIM file. So I have a directory where I like to keep my ANIMs, and I'm going to call this b5.anim for b5.anim. So even though it says select, you're actually saving it. Click OK. And you want it to wrap up automatically? Yes. You absolutely want it to wrap up automatically. That way everything's neat and tidy and the animation's ready to go. Now, this is another important thing. Because we're not working in a true color mode like 24-bit, you really do want to lock the palette. Even if you have an AGA Amiga and you're using ham 8, you do still want to lock the palette based on the first frame. AGA gives you your best chance at the best palette, of course, but ham 6 mode is pretty reasonable. If you don't lock the palette, you really do run the risk that every single frame is going to have a different palette and it's going to do color craziness. So lock the palette. Smarter people knows what these mean. I probably could have spent the 1 minute Googling what this means. I just do byte by default. I don't really know. Of course, I like to do faster compression, even on this 060 Amiga. Yeah, if you do smaller file size, it's more compression, and it will be smaller, so if you're trying to fit it on a floppy, or if you just don't want to fill your hard drive up with gigantic ANIM files, I'm going to go for faster compression. And as you see, it's going and doing its thing right now. I'm not touching anything. It is automatically just executing the scripts on every frame in the file. So there it goes. And yes, you just grab a coffee or a Mountain Dew, or do a J if that's your thing, and just wait. It's got to get up to frame 90. And again, this can all be affected by your CPU speed, your hard drive speed. The better those you have, the faster this will be. And I will go ahead and speed us along here. Okay, so as you can see, it finished. Performing PostScript options. Doink! And that's it. It's done. You can now choose to save this sequence, this project. There's a lot more you can do, by the way, than just save ANIM files. As you saw, you had complete access to all of the operators from Art Department Professional. If I wanted to oil paint look this entire thing, or pixelate this entire thing, or whatever, add blur. There's things you can do, like adding titles and credits. It's almost like a mini pseudo editor. But again, it is limited to the things that you can add from Art Department Professional. So again, you can save this project. Right now it's untitled sequence, so if I just click save, it'll just save it. The thumbnails, I said, as long as the thumbnails match the original source frames, they will always load up anyway. So keep in mind now, when you go to, let's go ahead and quit. When you go to that directory, Let's use Opus here. And down here, if we go to Toaster, I think B5, I think there's a file. Okay, yeah, so you can see right there, these STP files, those are the stamps. So these files match the name of the source file. So if these are in here, you're always going to have these files, these little thumbnails, little sidecar files. So that's kind of cool. Oh, our animation. We should probably look at the animation, right? So we go to animations, anims, and there's B5 anim. And as you can see, yeah, you know, it's a little chunky, but not too bad. And let's play it. Let's play it. Let's play it. Oh, I wasn't double clicking fast enough. All right, color bars for a second, but then soon and shortly, glorious. There you go. So there is the Babylon 5 station animation I did. It's just a silly little quick animation. But that's how you build an anim using Fred and Art Department Professional. And I think you can already see the flexibility of always rendering out frames. That way you can take them into your various packages like Image Effects or Art Department and then do a bunch of neat things to them. I don't know what those neat things would be, but you could do stuff to them and then compile the animation, and now you have a little ham animation. And this is, again, this is Floyd Steinberg Ham 6, and it looks pretty good, pretty darn good actually. I really like the Floyd dithering with ham. We've got really almost no fringing. I don't see any fringing effects, really. So that worked out nicely. This is a extremely small render. I believe, what was it, 6? Gosh, I don't even remember what it was. What was the frame dimensions of that? Actually, well, we're here in Ad Pro. We could just go load, grab a frame. And yeah, it was 320 by 240. So that was a 320 by 240 image you were seeing playing full screen. So that's pretty low res. But that's it. That's the video. I hope that was informative, and now you have at least a better understanding of how Fred and Art Department Professional work together, and how to use probably the most complicated program in the world to build a simple animation file. I'm sure there's something on AmiNet that's a little script that you can run from the shell that's like build anim and it does it for you. But if you're going to do it through Fred and AdPro, as I said, you've got all these over here where I'm wiggling my mouse. You've got all these operators that you can apply to the image. All this stuff is accessible by Fred, so you can have a lot of fun with it. Thank you for watching, and hopefully this made some sense. Bye!